Good morning, students. Today I will take another topic for the class 9th and subject bio and the cell theory. Cell theory was given by scientists Sleden and Swan. In the cell theory, what are the postulates? What does this states? Very first, I will explain the cell as a fundamental unit of life, basic unit of life, structural and functional unit of life. Already I told you. In the cell theory, there are two postulates which are very important for the examination and for your complete knowledge. The first postulate, the first is every cell is structural and functional unit of life. Means cell is responsible for making structure and doing functions. The second postulate of the cell theory is that every cell arises from pre-existing cell. Now, when you start the cell theory, you will write two postulates, and the cell theory, you must remember, sometime it could be asked that cell theory was given by which scientist. Mention the name of scientist who has given cell theory. So cell theory was given by Sleden and Swan. And it's clear that every cell arises from pre-existing cell, and every cell is structural and functional unit of life. So in the cell theory you will mention two postulates, that one is every cell arises from pre-existing cell, and second is that the cell is structural and functional unit of life. Scientists Sleden and Swan has given this cell theory, right? After the cell theory, today I will take four important cell organelles, and in the cell organelles segment I will tell you the internal structure of mitochondria, internal structure of nucleus, and internal structure of chromosomes, and the fourth will be chloroplast. So for that lecture I have prepared a slide. Through that slide I will explain, and also I will explain with the diagram in front of you. Very first, as you know, nucleus is the nucleus is a controller of the cell. Look at this. Nuclear membrane is covering the nucleus, and nucleus contains a liquid, a fluid that is called nucleoplast. Look at this. Nucleoplast. In the entire liquid is called, the fluid is called, the matrix, or you can call it nucleoplast. And after this nucleoplast, I will explain that these are the, look at this thread-like structure. This thread-like structure is called chromosome. The chromosomes which are floating inside the nucleus, they never present outside the nuclear membrane, they never present in the cytoplasm, but they are always present in the nucleus, in the nucleoplasm. Now, in the chromosomes, there are many genes are located. In one chromosome, 40,000 genes are located. And genes are the segment of DNA, and genes carry the hereditary character from one generation to another generation. After this, when we are moving, one spherical structure, that is called nucleolus, and this nucleolus is responsible for protein synthesis. When we are moving inside the nucleoplasm, you will see that outer covering, which is called nuclear membrane, which is semi-permeable membrane, which allows only minute particles to pass through this, and there are also nuclear pore in the structure, you can easily see. So in the nucleus, we completed the nuclear membrane, we completed the structure nucleolus, and we completed the thread-like structure chromosomes with their function. And as far as the nucleus function is concerned, nucleus, it controls all the functions of the cell. That is why it is called controller of the cell. It contains chromosomes, and chromosomes contains genes, and genes are the segment of DNA. Genes are the carrier of character from parents to their offsprings. After the nucleus, I will take another cell structure here, and that is chloroplast. Chloroplast, chloroplast is spherical structure, and chloroplasts are present only in the plant cell, not in animal cell. And chloroplast, which contains the so many cell organelles, and out of that you have to understand the grana and stroma. In the chloroplast, when you look at this, this is again surrounded by two-layered membrane. Look at this, outer membrane and inner membrane. In the outer and inner membrane, inside inner membrane, again the fluid is present, which is called matrix, or the matrix. And in the matrix, in the fluid, you can see these are the grana thylakoid, which contains grana. Look at this, these are grana. Look at this, 1, 2, 3 grana are there, and in grana chlorophylls are present. And the chlorophylls absorb the sunlight and perform the photosynthesis. So important part of this chloroplast, there are two parts. I can also explain in the board, I will also explain for your complete knowledge. The grana is responsible, these are pouch like pockets, like structure packets which contains the chlorophyll. So grana contains chlorophyll, and the fluid which is floating inside the nuclear membrane, that is called stroma. So there are two parts. One is stroma, which is responsible for dark reaction, and another one is grana, which is responsible for light reaction, light dependent reaction. It means the photosynthesis takes place in the light and also in the absence of light. So the grana is site. There will be question for you that what is the site of light reaction. In the deeper section there may be question that what is the site of light reaction and what is the site of dark reaction. when we draw the structure, a spherical structure is this, as far as the chloroplast, and you can easily understand these are thylakoid. One is grana. These thylakoids are connected with the stroma lamellae. So one thylakoid, two thylakoids are connected with stroma lamellae. The entire chloroplast is filled with liquid, and this is called stroma. Now come to the grana number 1 and number 2 stroma. This grana is for light reaction. It is the site for the light dependent reaction, and another one, stroma, is for dark reaction. Now when we move further, the importance, the function of the chloroplast. First, chloroplast, it helps in the process of photosynthesis in the plant cell, as it contains the chlorophyll in the grana. There are 230 chlorophyll present in the grana, and this is also responsible for storage of the bodies. I mean, when we are talking about the leucoplast, there are plastids. When we are talking about plastic, there are three types of plastids: leucoplast, chromoplast and chloroplast. So leucoplast is only for the storage. It contains no any pigments, that is called colorless pigment, that is called leucoplast. When the color pigments, many leaf you have seen many flower different colors because of the presence of the pigmentation there. They are called chromoplast. Number 1 leuco, number 2 chromo, and number 3 green color pigments are present, that is called chloroplast. There are three type of plastids. Number 1, leucoplast, chromoplast. Chromoplast contains, sometimes there may be question, leucoplast, colorless plastid, contain no any pigment. Chromoplast, it contains different color of plastids, a different color of pigments, that is called chromoplast, and another one is chloro. So I explained about the chloroplast in detail. The internal structure of chloroplast you got. There are two important parts: grana, and another part is stroma, which is responsible for dark reaction, and grana is responsible for light reaction. So the first was nucleus, second was chloroplast. Now moving to the third cell organelle, as far as the inner structure is concerned, I will take you towards the internal structure of mitochondria, the third cell organism. Many of you have already noticed in class 8 that the mitochondria is powerhouse of the cell. In the mitochondria, when you look at this mitochondria, it is mitochondrion. A particle, a rod-shaped structure is floating in the cytoplasm. And this mitochondria, when I am going to explain the mitochondria, you will see there are inner structure which is playing important role for the mitochondria, and because of that function, mitochondria is also known as powerhouse of the cell. In the mitochondria, when you go for the structure, you will see the inner finger-like projection. What are these structures? Inner finger-like projections. What are these structures? Look at this. Mitochondria is powerhouse of the cell. This mitochondria is surrounded by two membranes. Outer membrane is present outside and inner membrane is present inside. These inner membrane are enfolded and they are making the finger-like projections, and that are called cristae. And these cristae contains many F1 particles. Now, in the F1 particle, which are important of this mitochondria, the F1 particle head region is called F1, then F0. So this F1 is producing the energy. It generates the energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate ATP. So F1 particle which produces the energy in the form of ATP, it is energy currency. This F1 particle is attached in the cristae, and these cristae are containing many F1 particles. So this is very important in the mitochondria to understand where is the F1 particle, where is cristae, what is inner structure. This mitochondria also contains the DNA, own genetic material. These other cell organs, except mitochondria and chloroplast, other cell organs, they don't contain any own genetic material. So this F1 particle producing the ATP, and the F1 particle is present in the cristae. Okay. So when we go for the inner structure, you should start a board-shaped structure, mitochondria, and you should understand what are these finger-like projections? So these finger-like projections are called cristae, which contains F1 particles, and F1 particles produces the ATP, and this is known as energy currency, and that is why the mitochondria is known as powerhouse of the cell. So in this lecture I started with cell theory, which was given by Sleeden and so on, and then I have taken three cell organelles, mainly chloroplast, this is mitochondria, nucleus, and in a very brief explanation I explained the chromosomes which are present inside the nucleus. So at last, for the recapitulation, for the assignment, I would like to give you 4 or 5 questions for the complete preparation. Now, the first what is cell theory? Okay. What are the postulates of cell theory? What is cell theory? Who has given cell theory? You can also add. Sleeden and Swan has given the cell theory. There are 2 postulates, already I explained. Number 3, write the function of nucleus. Functions of, I am including these 3 cell organelles: nucleus, mitochondria, and chloroplast. So when we start the study of these cell organelles, we should try to complete these cell organelle study with the help of diagram. And last, 4th, I'll take here the structure. Draw the structure of chloroplast, mitochondria. Okay students, now these are the 4 questions for your complete study, and I hope that you completed your this topic with me, and if any question query you are free to ask me, and I would be taking another topic after this cell chapter. I will start another one, and I hope that you are going to complete your study material daily basis. Thank you.